Okay, let's move along to our next caller to Maritime Noon, Warren Tiemann in Browns Flats, New Brunswick. Hi.
Hi.
How are you doing?
Pretty good.
Would it be easier to give if there were fewer charities?
Well, my comment is probably a little bit more just in the vein of what was just being talked about in volunteering.
Yes.
And I'm not sure that it would be easier to give if there were fewer charities, but at times it seems that maybe if there were fewer charities, there'd be more volunteers to go around. My wife and I have been volunteering for the past 4.5 years now at the Cherrybrook Zoo, which is close to where we live. And we work with the animal enrichment group, and we find our biggest problem from year to year is just trying to get enough people to volunteer so we can do the activities which we want to help fundraise for the zoo.
Yes.
And I know there's been a number of things that have been mentioned by the zoo director that if we had enough volunteers, then we could do more birthday parties and things for the zoo, which could help bring in more money.
Mm-hmm.
Now, my thought I've been thinking about a little bit the last while is, I know for charitable donations, there's a tax receipt. Has anybody ever thought of doing for volunteers, like working out a system for the number of hours being able to be a charitable donation to be used on your taxes as a way to try and encourage people to volunteer?
Okay, Cathy Barr.
It has been mentioned. I've worked in the charitable sector now for about 8 years, and I've heard it mentioned on and off during that period. I don't think I'm aware of any charity that's really pushing it in a major way. I think part of the concern about that is that I'm not sure. I think there's really not a lot of evidence that suggests that people don't volunteer because it costs too much, for example, or that in fact it would be effective in increasing the number of volunteers available. The main reason people give for not volunteering is that there's two main ones. They don't have enough time, and they don't know how to do it. They don't know where to go, and so there's not a lot we can do about the don't have enough time comment. But I think charities that are interested in obtaining more new volunteers or more volunteers need to be creative about how they go about doing that. I mean, people, there are charities out there that have more volunteers than they know what to do with. So it's just a matter of tapping into the right type of volunteers at the right time and making that volunteer opportunity attractive. I once did a talk at a conference and to a group of people. There was probably about 20 people in the room, all working for different branches of the same charity, and they were not a very fun group of people, and they were complaining about why no one volunteered. And the person that was on the panel with me, when we left the room, we both said to each other, "Oh, I wouldn't volunteer with that group either. They're not. They don't seem like they'd be a lot of fun to be with, or it would be a very rewarding experience." So
I take it this was a very large charity?
It was a large charity, but all the folks in the room were from small local branches of this larger charity. But it was just kind of, it was weird because it was like, well, can you not see that people don't want to spend time fighting battles or being around unpleasant people, so you need to make volunteering both a fun experience, but also a rewarding experience for individuals. And sometimes, managing volunteers is not necessarily easy. To do it well, you need to put some time and money and resources into that as well, which many charities, they're often things are very tight financially, so they find it hard to do that. But usually it pays off.
Okay, any last quick comment, Warren?
No, that's all right.
Okay, thanks for calling in.
No problem.
Our next caller to Maritime Noon is Robin Barrett in Kentville. Hi.
Hello there.
Would it be easier to give if there were fewer charities?
Well, I wanted to make a general comment that I think there's a bigger issue, and that is the level of need that we have and the depth and the breadth of that need. If you start having less charities, then you start missing a lot of things that are really important to people in our community.
Now, can you think of any examples where there might be what some people perceive as overlap, but where you see slightly different needs that probably benefit from having two or more charities working in the same area?
Well, I'll mention areas that I think there's been some success. In some of our local communities, a number of the volunteer groups get together. So at Christmas time, if there's needy families,
Yes.
they work together under an umbrella group, because what has happened in the past is one family would get an enormous amount at Christmas, and then there would be 3 or 4 other families that wouldn't get anyone because it went to the person who was most known.
So there might be a kind of seasonal cooperation among different charities.
Seasonal cooperation, or just on the function. We're running into the issue with Haiti now, and who takes care of what areas. There needs to be communication and coordination between the charities. But the gentleman who mentioned earlier about things in our local community,
Right.
there's a lot of things that are really important to our local communities that would be missed if you just had a fewer number of groups that dealt with the big issues.
Okay, Cathy Barr, what about those points?
Well, I think it's an interesting point about the local community. Our research shows that upwards of 60% of all charities serve a town, city, rural municipality, something smaller than a whole region of a province. So the vast majority of charities in Canada are working locally, and you can imagine how this would be. I mean, having a women's shelter or a food bank or an animal shelter in Calgary isn't going to help anyone in Moncton. So Canada's a very large country. We have a very dispersed population, not a high population density in different areas of the country, and so that also again contributes to the number of charities. For example, there are more charities per capita in the Maritimes than there are in Ontario, and that makes sense because of population density. But I don't know whether Maritimers would want fewer charities.
I agree. The charities are often things that are close to our heart, that are close to our communities, and as you start to get larger, you end up losing touch with the individuality of the community. So while I can understand the frustration with there being so many, I don't see a solution other than that would be as effective.
Okay, well, thank you for calling.
Not a problem.
Bye.
Okay. Bye.
Our next caller is Carmen Swartz in Fredericton. Hi.
Yes, good day.
Would it be easier to give if there were fewer charities?
Well, for me, I think there's probably a lot of worthwhile charities out there, but would help me make my decision with regards to the direct financial contributions you can make to any charity. Is there a way to find out how much of each dollar that is donated towards a certain charity goes to the administrative cost of the charity? I know there can be quite a variation.
Mm-hmm. Cathy Barr?
Well, I'll answer the question, but I'd also like to make a point about that. Yes, there is. The charities' revenues and expenditures is public information available on the website of the Canada Revenue Agency. You just go, you can just type in Charities Directorate, Canada Revenue Agency. It will take you to a database. You type in the name of the charity, and you can get the public portion of their information return that they're required to submit every year, which tells you their revenues and expenditures.
Okay, I'm afraid we've run out of time.
Okay.
Thank you very much for joining us. Cathy Barr is Vice President of Operations at Imagine Canada. And if you didn't get through, you can call our answering machine 1-800-565-5463. Tomorrow on the phone-in, call to tell us about your experience or insights into loneliness. Have a great afternoon.
For more on